Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
You killed him?
No, I shot him. Bullets in the fall killed him.
Hello and welcome to this week's rather weird, again, Monday on a Sunday movie show. No?
It just confused me last week when you said that we were going to be doing the show around about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, we are. If you're listening to us live, which is there is oh no, it's us. Okay, just seeing someone in the chat window, but it's us. Yeah, if you are listening to us live, then what the hell are you doing? Because it's Sunday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't normally do it now, but we are. If you're listening to us recorded, then it was Sunday 1 o'clock when we did this. We put together a bit of a quick show because of the fact that we are both busy this week and struggling with times and such. So things going on and all, but we're still going to do a show here which will go through and look at some movie news, UK box office top 10, some of this week's releases. We weren't able to see all of them for certain reasons, and also then this week no UK DVD and Blu-ray top 10 in the second half of the show because it hasn't been announced yet, hasn't been released yet, but we'll still have a look at some of the releases this week and we'll go through reviews of them. So in the cinema section we have these movies.
Yeah, we were supposed to do 4, but it's been whittled down to 2 because we couldn't do the Riot Club or Grand Piano, so we are doing...
It's funny, couldn't do the Riot Club because of the fact that I couldn't actually go to Glasgow because of the riots.
Which is interesting, and I couldn't do Grand Piano because, I had problems in getting to see it. So, but we are doing another sort of like post-apocalyptic teenage movie with The Giver and Liam Neeson doing what Liam Neeson does, what he does, in A Walk Among the Tombstones.
Yeah, which does have a scene with him talking threateningly to someone on the phone saying, "I will kill you."
No surprise there.
Yeah, but before that, as I say, we'll go on to some movie news now as well. Just go through as well what we've got in the DVD section, because we've got a selection of films which are quite sort of small films, but we've got a bunch of them. Very
low key films. We have In Secret, Tokarev, or Rage as it's known as, Nicolas Cage doing a Liam Neeson, Run and Jump, The Ghostmaker, and The Trials of Katie McCall.
No, you say Nicolas Cage doing the Liam Neeson. That
yes.
kind of makes me want. That's kind of selling me on it. I want to see Nicolas Cage doing a Liam Neeson impersonation.
Wait until you get to the review of it. Trust me, you don't want to see it.
Okay, so let's go into some movie news first of all. Do you want to go?
Yeah, a piece of movie news that I'm surprised that Andrew hasn't gotten down or covering.
You said to me just as we were starting the show, and I was like, why did I not get that?
And I've only just remembered it myself, but a Deadpool movie is finally happening, even though Ryan Reynolds really killed the character in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He didn't kill the character, he was okay.
Well, no, the thing is, as well, he did okay in the parts, because the thing that a lot of people don't know, if you go back and look at it, it's very hard to tell. The first half of the movie, which has him looking normal, that's Ryan Reynolds, obviously. The second half of the movie, where he's all scarred up and that, it's not actually him. It's Scott Adkins, the guy who does martial arts, and he's a bit of a stuntman and now actor as well. It's him that played the part in the second part of the film.
Yeah, well, still though, it sort of like killed the character. People never expected to see a Deadpool movie. However, Fox has decided to go ahead with it, and it's happening February 12th, 2016 now, which is it's a good thing, because Deadpool is sort of like, you can't call him an anti-hero, but he is a foul mouth. He's something you would never expect to see as a superhero, which is crazy. Which is what is awesome about the character. The only worry I have is, with it being a superhero movie, they'll probably kill it so much and make it a 12A, so it'll lose his personality, he'll lose his foul-mouthness, he'll have his sarcastic quips, but he'll lose his foul-mouthness, sort of like what happened with Ghost Rider, When you got Neville and Taylor doing Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, the sequel, you were expecting it, he's going to be much more darker and more insane. He was insane, but he wasn't darker, and the film was a 12-year, and it was annoying. We needed Deadpool movie to be at least 15, so we get lots of violence and lots of over-the-top sarcastic quips.
And if people are kind of wondering as well, how are they going to bring Deadpool back? Didn't they kill him in X-Men Origins Wolverine? But thing is, if you watch the movies right to the end, as you should, now, depending on where you saw it, because there are 2 different end tag things on X-Men Origins Wolverine. One of them is Wolverine sitting in a bar in Japan, drinking, and the other one is one which features Deadpool, and specifically Deadpool's head. And his hand.
Yeah, it's a superhero movie, though. They'll find somewhere. They'll easily find somewhere of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that he is getting a movie, even though the video game sucked. More news is, does anybody care about this? But it's news anyway. The 6th film in the Paranormal Activity franchise has been given a release date. The film will be out on March 15th, 2015, not Halloween, and will be called Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension. What an awful title. The Ghost Dimension.
I don't even like the other one, so I care even less about this one.
This one was delayed. This was technically going to be the 5th Paranormal Activity film, and it was supposed to be out in October. But what happened?
Then the Mark ones was a spin-off, wasn't it? It wasn't actually a proper. It was a proper merchandise spin-off one, but it wasn't actually one of the series, is it?
Well, 2 Paranormal Activity movies were announced last year, just after the release of Paranormal Activity 4. Last year, 2 were announced that there was going to be 2 this year in the form of the marked ones and Paranormal Activity 5. However, what happened was they couldn't find a director in time or a writer in time to actually do Paranormal Activity 5, so it missed its release date of October of last year. So they had already the marked ones in development, which was the spin-off, the Latino spin-off. So they made that the 5th one, released it early this year, and said they were going to delay the 6th one, which was the 5th one, to next October instead. And now what they've decided to do, because they've got a writer and a director and a cast, they've decided to fast-track it and release it in March, which was the release date of the marked ones of this year.
I'm confused.
I am as well. It's a headache, but it's a Paranormal Activity film that's going to suck. It's simple as that. 20th Century Fox has gone and delayed 2 of its big movies. Fantastic Four has been pushed back a few months to August the 7th, 2015. And Assassin's Creed is now being delayed to an unknown date after it was pushed back from the August the 7th, 2015 release date.
I wonder what they're going to fill its place with then, because they had a set place, and because it was a big comic book film, I don't think it was up against anything, so there's going to be an empty void there now, till someone snaps it up.
Well, Fantastic Four was supposed to be released a couple of months earlier to August, so I'm guessing they want to tie up stuff to make it a better film, because Josh Trank is directing it. Assassin's Creed, it's just been delayed to an unknown date. Even though Michael Fassbender says there is a script, he's actually going to meet up with the director next month. So it hasn't even been shot, or nothing has been done with the film yet. So he's going to meet up with it, and he's still involved with it. How long, though, do you think Michael Fassbender can stay attached to the film?
Yeah, well, obviously he's a very in-demand guy. He's going to be doing lots of things, and also there's going to be, presumably, he will be in X-Men Apocalypse, which will be the next X-Men film, which is going to be sort of getting put together as well. Because that's already been greenlit too. So, plus any other projects he's working on. I mean, he's a very busy man. He's done quite an impressive number of films consistently each year, but it's the thing of that, each film's going to take so much time, and scheduling's not going to work out necessarily, and it'll mean that he's going to have to probably drop out of something. And I hope it's not X-Men, because that's a continued role.
The way he's done it, though, he's done it smartly. If he's done a big film, his next film is always a smaller movie, so he can handle the big film, because then a smaller movie doesn't take as long to shoot, and at least he can concentrate much more on a big film. But X-Men Apocalypse and Assassin's Creed, they're going to be both big movies, and they're going to take a lot out of Fassbender. So it's going to be difficult. It'll probably be Assassin's Creed which he drops out of, because, like you said, it's a concurrent role in X-Men.
Yeah.
My final piece of news is, according to The Wrap, Tom Hiddleston will have a starring role in the King Kong film Skull Island. The film will be directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts, who did the brilliant Kings of Summer, and will be released on November the 15th, 2016.
I'm not that hyped about it. But it's kind of like I'll get nearer the time and see. I think with that one, it's a bit too early.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a way more happier that Jordan Vogt Roberts is directing it over seeing when Peter Jackson directed King Kong, because Vogt Roberts, I'm hoping he brings a lot of the drama and more smallness to the film rather than make it a huge, massive movie. But it is under Legendary Pictures, and Legendary Pictures aren't known for releasing small films. Yeah, they have like dipped their toe into releasing small movies, but they release huge, massive movies which budgets are more than 100 million. So it's probably going to be like that.
This is going to be, I think, as well, their first one with Universal since they left their deal with Warner Brothers, isn't it? So it's going to be their first sort of big film they do with a new studio. So any problems, sort of teething problems, are going to be worked out on this film.
Yeah.
Movie news that I've got, you have about Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass were said for ages, we're not going to go back to Bourne. They weren't interested, they couldn't think of a way to do it. Apparently now they've done it, they've figured out a way. They're going to both come back to do another Jason Bourne film. Universal is still aiming to have the movie released July 16, 2016, which was the release date they originally had set for another sequel, which was going to be with Jeremy Renner's character from the fourth film. And that was going to be directed by Justin Lin. That is apparently still going to go ahead, but it's getting pushed back so they can bring the next movie out in the Bourne series is going to be the one by Paul Greengrass with Matt Damon. And there's nothing confirmed, but there are fans, rumours and everything going around saying that obviously to tie them up and everything, they're going to have to make some kind of crossover appearance between them. So I'm looking forward to this because I really love the Bourne films. As much as the last one wasn't great as all the others, but I did like that it opened up the world, and I think it's probably, as I said at the time, because of that, they've expanded the universe and then they've given reasons in that to bring back the character of Jason Bourne and Matt Damon.
Yeah, the problem I have, though, is they wouldn't be able to actually use the Bourne name anymore with Jeremy Renner's spin-off one, because it wouldn't make sense.
The way I was thinking they were going to do it, because in the Jeremy Renner's one, you see at the beginning of it, he sees all the names and he sees all the names of the different previous trainees that have been there at this lodge that he's at, this cabin in the forest and that, in the woods. I went there. But basically, one of them is Jason Bourne. And then he sees throughout that in the news the thing of Jason Bourne. So you could have had him take the character name of Jason Bourne because of the fact that he realises it's connected or something.
But he didn't take that. He didn't take that name though in the Bourne Legacy, which was a strange title for the film to be, considering it wasn't about Jason Bourne.
Well, it's the same.
When you've got a title with the Bourne Legacy, you would expect it to be the legacy of the character of the name of the film, not of a different character in the film. So it's just slightly strange that they used the Bourne name with that, and they're going ahead with two movies with the Bourne title, which includes Matt Damon as Jason Bourne, and then they're going to do another movie with the Bourne name with a different character.
Yeah, well,
it's just strange.
I think the last one was called The Bourne Legacy because it's supposed to be that he was the very first agent that was trained in that way and made, brainwashed and such. So I think I did watch it recently, and they said you were the first.
It's still though. Bourne is the name of the character.
But I know it's thin, but that's where they tied it in, and I was fine with that.
When they do release the two films, I won't be. They need to actually give it a different title. They can't call it the Bourne something. They just can't.
Well, maybe they'll have them both appear in some part, or maybe we'll see events in one film happening, and then events in the other film will be happening at the same time, but we see them, from a different angle and such. That might be interesting.
I still think they need to change the name Bourne with Jeremy Renner's one.
No, obviously it ties into it, so I think that's why. Final piece of news this week is that Olympus Has Fallen sequel, London Has Fallen, has lost its director, only 6 weeks away from filming. Frederick Bond has left the project due to creative differences with the production company. The movie is still currently due to begin filming in October because of the fact that there are schedules and people available and such. Here's the crazy thing that's happening with it. They're filming scenes with Morgan Freeman, Aaron Eckhart, Angela Bassett and Melissa Leo, all returning from the first film. And then there's a break for a few months, and then they're filming in February with Gerard Butler.
Okay, that's going to be very truncated, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's going to be, again, the similar sort of dial situation, I guess. So it's going to be all of them, those characters will be in, their situation rooms and that kind of thing. They won't be in the action pieces. And then Gerard Butler's just going to be filming the action sequences where he's running around, screaming at people, stabbing them, shooting them, kicking them, punching them, everything except probably talking to them.
They're going to have to quickly find a director then. So I hope that they've got a list of a couple of people that they're looking at.
Yeah, well, apparently the studio's looking at directors, and when this was announced just the other day, it was said that they were hoping to have someone lined up within 72 hours, but I've not seen any further news since. So I'm not idea if they've found anyone yet, or maybe they're waiting till Monday to announce or something. But they are going to have to get their finger out, really, aren't they?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the movie news for this week. Let's go on to our first of the two films we're reviewing for the cinema section this week.
Nope, UK box office top 10 first.
Oh yeah, of course. I get that wrong, yeah.
And number 10, The In-Between Is 2.
I still haven't seen this, but from what I hear and you and everyone loves it except you.
Yeah, it's rubbish. At number 9 is The 100-Foot Journey.
Which is really, really fun, really good film. Enjoyable, funny drama. A PG, which is even more surprising as well, because there's not many of them out there. And it's a film that do not see it on an empty stomach, because you will get hungry watching it.
At number 8 is Let's Be Cops.
Let's Be Bored.
7 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, there's not more we can say about that other than that it's amongst Marvel continuing the tradition of making fantastic films.
At 6 is Before I Go to Sleep.
Which is, I think, a very cleverly put together film, very good. It knows what it needs to do and does it very quick, and that it keeps its running time under an hour and 40 minutes. Very good performances. It's Nicole Kidman back on top. Colin Firth's there just as good as ever. Mark Strong's there just as good as ever, although a bit underused. But it's, I think, very well written, very well handled, and a good, very good all-round thriller.
At number 5 is The New 24 Most Wanted Man. Which
is, sadly, Philip Seymour Hoffman's greatest performance that we'll ever see now, I think. Even though I know we've got the Hunger Games films coming out, there's no way his performance in those films will be given the chance to shine that he was in this film, and absolutely fantastic. Even if you don't like spy thrillers, if you just like drama, see it for his performance in this, because it's honestly, I really do hope it gets a posthumous nomination at least for an award and Best Actor in this, because he's absolutely fantastic in it. Great thriller.
At number 4 is Sex Tape.
Sex Tape. Sorry, I'm trying to remember, but I blanked my mind most of it. I kind of managed to do with my mind what they couldn't do with their Sex Tape. I forgot it.
Yeah, considering that the thing where they could have easily just changed the password is announced at the end of the film, and we would have actually been saved 90 minutes of horrendousness.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I will say this for it. It does have a few laughs, not a lot. Some bits did make me laugh, and there's moments in it where you kind of go, ugh, and it's just basically one long iPad advert. And the thing is, it's not anywhere near as bad or as gross out as a lot of the films that have been in this type recently, but really do something different.
At number 3 is a new entry for Pride.
Absolutely brilliant. Best British film of the year, I think. I'm trying to think about
I agree.
Now. Yeah.
No, I agree.
And down to largely the performance, the characters who you really care about and you get into, and it's genuinely not a laugh a minute, but it's consistently funny from start to finish. And also, I actually like Dominic, not Dominic Cooper, Dominic.
I forgot his name as well.
Dominic Monaghan?
Yeah, something like that.
Dominic Monaghan. I actually like him in this. I don't like him in a lot of things. I think he's not the best of actors in this. I think he's very perfect, spot on, brilliant.
Yeah, the best thing about Pride is the fact that every one of the characters gets proper screen time, gets proper development, rather than it just concentrating on. It could have just concentrated on the leader of the group who's actually raising the money for the miners, and it could have just concentrated on a couple of characters in the miners, but it didn't do that. There was enough for each one of the characters to develop and grow, so you attached yourself to more than one. And I love that about the film. Like you said, it is funny. It's very funny at times, and it's very tugging on your heartstrings at times as well. So it gets that balance brilliantly done. So it definitely needs to be seen. But number 2 is Lucy.
Still doing really well, despite a lot of people seem to really dislike it. And I really do think it's a very, very good film. I think it's let down a little by the ending. I think that it's not as typical a thing as people are expecting when they go to see a Luc Besson film. It doesn't have the action that a Luc Besson film generally have, but it's consistently well thought out. It's not brilliantly put together because there's bits you go, well, you did this earlier, why didn't you do this, why didn't you do this? So there's lots of kind of holes in it, but I thought it was good, and it's again one that's helped by Scarlett Johansson because she does have a very good performance in it. She is a screen presence, not just in looks but also in skills.
And at number 1 is a new entry for the Box Trolls.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised and happy about this because it's brilliant. I was just recently watching Paranorman again recently, and really enjoyed it, love it. But this is the same, obviously, animation by Laika. It's fun, brilliant. The characters in it have all got their little knickknacks, they're all little things, and there's so much in it. They've done so many things in the background during the animation that it's kept lively, it's kept visual as well as being fun. And the one thing I would say, and all the way through it, I just remember thinking Elle Fanning's voiceover, I found it very disjointed, very hollow, as if it didn't quite fit. I don't know if she's maybe just not great at doing a voice casting.
No, God, no. She does an absolute brilliant job of the main character in My Neighbor Totoro. Right, so she is fantastic at voiceovers.
Okay, I'll be curious to see what you have to say about this when you get a chance to see Box Trolls, because it just feels like she's reading the lines. She's not really going through the motions. But aside from that, absolutely loved it. Brilliant. Again, a kids film which I can't think if it's actually a U or PG, but it's got nothing in it as kind of disturbing as Paranorman, which I realised recently has quite more disturbing bits in it for younger audiences, whereas the Box Trolls doesn't have such disturbing moments for kids, apart from 1 or 2 little tiny bits to do with someone's allergic reaction to cheese.
Hello. That's me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a really, really great film, and that's your UK box office top 10, which we will now go on to the first of our 2 films we're covering this week.
Yeah, it's The Giver, and it's another one of those... I'm sick of sort of like seeing these kind of films because they're carbon copy of each other, but it's set in a post-apocalyptic...
Get used to it because Maze Runner coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then you've got the Hunger Games, etc. But it's a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, and a disaster has happened. You don't fully find out what the disaster is that happened, but it's based on a book by Lois Lowry, and it's set in a world where the society is being coordinated off, and it's completely run by the heads of state, and I mean completely run, down to everything from what you see to how you dress, to when you eat, to even down to what happens to you in society, what you become. You have no say on whether you're going to become a lawyer, or if you're going to be one of the heads of state, or if you're going to be a mother. You get told that's going to happen. And it centres around Jonas, who's played by Brendan Thwaites. And when they turn a certain age, they get took to this huge, massive ceremony, and that's when they've found out what kind of role they're going to have in society. And Jonas is given sort of like the ultimate accolade in the fact that he's going to be a receiver of memories. Now, very few people get chosen for this job, and what happens is he ends up going to a character called The Giver, who's played by Jeff Bridges in the film, and he teaches him about what happened during the past. And so during the rest of the film, he learns what happened during the past, and here's a clip of one of the memories.
Who's that?
Thanks. I'll show you.
This Rosemary. The previous receiver.
See?
She's the one they all talk about.
She no longer exists.
Remember?
Except here. And in my memories. She was in training only 2 short months.
Watch how my fingers move.
Or like you. She wanted to experience, well, everything.
So while he's learning everything that happens, the film itself switches from being black and white, because the opening of the film has got no colour whatsoever. So it gives you a feeling of how the people inside this society is run. And slowly colour starts to seep into the world, very much like the film Pleasantville. That colour just starts to come back to his world, what he can only see. Nobody else can see all the colour that he can see, but it starts to seep back into his own world, and he starts to find secrets, which annoys Meryl Streep's character, who plays the chief, the head up one. Now, the thing with the film is, it's interesting with the idea. The fact that he's going to be a receiver, and he's going to learn what happened in the past. He's going to practically get his humanity back. Learning about animals, because they mix up one animal between an elephant and a rhino. He's going to learn about war and death, and that's the kind of thing that the heads of society don't want people to know about. But it's lacking in its its connection. It doesn't seem to connect very well with itself. It's an interesting idea, but it never fully follows through with that idea. It becomes just stagnant. It doesn't know where to go. And when it gets near to the end, it just loses the bottle altogether, and it feels so rushed. There's a fantastic premise in there, but under better guises, under better hands, it would have been much better than it is. But it just turned out to be a below-average film, and there was nowhere it could actually get itself back, because the ending just didn't help it.
I kind of agree with what you're saying, pretty much, about the whole thing of it not living up to what it has for potential. Especially because I was watching it and I was getting into it and really enjoying it. I loved the whole idea. First of all, I found that the first 20 minutes or so great. Then the 20 minutes or so after that, because it's only a 90-odd minute film, the second sort of 20 odd minutes, I found it's kind of like it was stretching out things because it didn't have enough material there, and it felt like it was trying to make things last longer than needed to, just purely because of the fact that it was waiting to go to this last act, in which it completely falls apart because it doesn't have anything really in its last act. It becomes this whole thing of what happened to the world and stuff, and there's kind of that. I felt like I'd watched half a film, and then the second half was just not there. It's kind of like after a certain point, when it gets to a certain point and the character leaves somewhere and goes somewhere else, I really wanted it to go and open up, become this big epic thing. And it didn't do that, and it really missed a step there. I don't know the original book. I don't know how that's, because it's based on a novel. I don't know how faithful it is to that or the idea. But if I would have come up with something else for that last half of it, where it goes out there and there's all this potential for big epic things happening, and it didn't. It just goes like, tunnel vision. We've got to go this way because this is what there is, and it just felt very, very hollow for that last half of the film, which really is a shame because, as you said, it definitely has a great idea there in the first half, but then doesn't follow through on it.
What I find interesting, though, is it's just ironic that the first half of the film, it features absolutely no colour in it, and that's the interesting part. Yet when it does get to the colour part, where you're expecting things to happen and the story to unravel and sort of humanity to come back, that feels more like the black and white section rather than a colour section. Yeah. It just seems to be, it's sucked out all of the interesting ideas and all of the character development. There is one scene in the film, in my opinion, that is quite shocking for the 12-year certificate, and it's just the way it's played out is brilliant. It's just very straight-laced, but the way it's played out is brilliant, and that's the best scene by far in the film. I can't give it away because it's a bit of a shocking scene.
But it involves a couple. There's one, if I'm right, and without giving anything away, it's a scene that I found very resonant with a scene from Michael Bay's The Island.
All I'll say is the one I'm talking about involves Alexander Skarsgård's character.
Yeah, but do you see where I'm making that connection as well? Yeah.
But that's an interesting to see a scene like that in a film like this.
Yeah.
So when I watched that, I went, they've actually done that. Well done. They've finally found their cojones to actually do something interesting with the film, and then they just lose it again.
Yeah.
So it's just really annoying because Katie Holmes is in the film and she's pointless. She's completely pointless. She's like an empty robot. Even Meryl Streep's character, there is a scene to the end of the film, which is a battle between her and Jeff Bridges, the Giver, where they're speaking to each other to try and see what is good about humanity and why, and her saying, it should be controlled. And they just feel like, again, like two automatons just speaking to each other. It lacked.
I get that was kind of the point, but they could have done more with Jeff Bridges' character, because it's the whole thing is, this isn't spoiling anything, as it said early on. The whole thing is people get daily injections that they basically, it's what controls. That's why they seem black and white. It removes, part of their emotions. It controls sort of people's society and everything. And then the reason he starts seeing that is because of the fact he's receiving all this knowledge and also avoids taking his injections. And again, in that way, it's like another film, like Equilibrium. The whole thing of that, then his emotions start to come out and such, and it's just it's kind of like it's a collection of ideas that have an idea themselves, but then don't follow through on it, and that's the shame. That's what's really a shame with it.
Yep.
So the other movie we're covering this week is A Walk Among the Tombstones. Another one that's based on a novel, but not the same kind of novel as The Giver. This is a lot more darker thriller, based on a novel by Lawrence Block. The movie itself is written and directed by Scott Frank. You have Liam Neeson playing a man who is a detective, who we're introduced to at the very start of the film in kind of like a flashback sequence. You see him when he's a detective. He's in this bar. He's sitting there on duty, but he sort of sits there and he's having a couple of shots. We later find out it's a bar where cops go because they don't have to pay for the drinks. When he's there, some guys come in, rob the place, shoot the owner, and he chases them out in a shootout and shoots them. But during the shootout, something else happens as well. So years later, he's no longer a detective. He is though a private detective who he kind of helps people out. Because he's not really listed as a detective. He's not one with a licensed detective. He gets a call from someone who needs to see him, brings him along to the character played by Dan Stevens, Kenny, who has a proposition for him because of something that's happened with him and his wife. Here's a clip.
So you're a private detective, is that right?
Unlicensed.
What's that mean?
It means that sometimes I do favors for people, and sometimes in return, they give me gifts.
Gift, But you used to be a cop, right?
Yeah.
So why'd you quit?
I didn't like the hours, Mr. Christo.
The corruption got to you, huh?
Not really. It would have been hard to support my family without it.
Well, this was really my brother's idea, bringing you out of here.
You want? I can leave.
Someone's kidnapped my wife.
When did this happen?
Yesterday.
You should be talking to the FBI.
I'm talking to you.
Look, Mr. Christo.
Kenny,
if you're asking me to run a bag, deliver money, that is not something I do.
I already paid them.
When?
Last night.
And your wife, where is she?
She's dead. I paid them, but they killed her anyway.
So the thing is, then he starts to investigate these things. He finds out things he doesn't necessarily like, kind of decides to step away from it, but then decides that he's going to investigate because he doesn't like what's going on. And it isn't Liam Neeson the action hero. This is Liam Neeson the thriller character, and for that, in that regard, it is an improvement over the Taken franchise. Although, as I said earlier on, there are scenes with him on the phone talking with someone, threatening, this happens, I'm going to kill you, sort of thing. And there is some. It is kind of like got this B grade level quality to it, to these these villains that are not really explained or anything like that, but you kind of don't need to. You just know that they're crazy and a bit mad, and they like to do things that hurt people, and it has this quality to it that is kind of classical in its composition and the way it's done, and I did like that about it. I did really get into it. It has some really grim moments in it, some moments where it's very dark and very sort of graphically violent, and I understand it was edited for a 15 rating by the BBFC. I'm not surprised to learn that, and there's moments in it that are honestly quite tense and quite pressured, and there's moments in it every now and again where it tries to have like a line someone says for humour, but it's that dark and depressing and engrossing that I actually found. I was like, I should have been laughing there, but I'm not. And the problem I did have with it is though is the first 20 minutes of the film, I was honestly, it's so dark, dull, and uninteresting. I thought initially, I didn't care. Then it started to get better, and it really did get better as it went on. But I really just found the beginning, especially, I was struggling with it. But I think that once you get past that opening bit, it then starts to get quite gross and quite dark. It's kind of it invoked memories of things like 8mm, Joel Schumacher's 8mm, but not for being that graphic, that dark. It's not that very, very dark. It's got the subject of it, and there's moments in it which are very kind of unpleasant to watch, but it makes it a better film overall.
Very well.
No comment.
No, Kat says she loved Walk Among the Tombstones. But
yeah, I mean, and I have to say, I mean, I like it more than I like The Giver because it doesn't fall apart as it goes on. It actually gets better as it goes on. Whereas The Giver was the opposite. The Giver started off great and then fell apart. This started off terrible and then got better. But the thing is, with it, as I say, it's very dark. There are moments in it that some people may find honestly, truly quite distressing, and it has got a classical, methodical. It's kind of plodding at certain points that it kind of drags things out unnecessarily, but there is, I think, a method to that. But the one thing I would say is that I afterwards, and I was with Kat when I saw this, and I said to her that I liked it, but I had a feel of being an amateur director, someone who didn't quite know what they were doing. And I just looked just now, the only thing he's directed before is an episode of Shameless and an episode of something else that's TV as well. So this is his first cinematic film. I think it's a good job for that, but I think maybe it's not the best it could have been. Under the direction of someone else more experienced, I think it would have been a better film.
I'm still not eager to go out and see it, to be honest. I'll just wait for it to release on Blu-ray and DVD, and I'll review it then.
Yeah, and I think as well, when it's seen on Blu-ray and DVD, I think it'll be a nice little surprise for people. It's one of those kind of films, you know. It's not a bad film, it's a good film, but not necessarily to everyone's taste. But when you see it eventually on DVD, it probably be one of those ones you go... Someone will be like, you know, I didn't see this at the cinema, I'll give it a shot. And they'll go, you know what? I'm surprised that it was better than I was expecting.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it for this week's cinema releases. As I said, there were other films released this week. You had The Riot Club. There was Wish I Was Here, a small independent film by Zach Braff, which was the one that caused all the problems with fundraising on Kickstarter. Which has got a very small release, and also Grand Piano, which got a small release as well, which we unfortunately weren't able to get to see those because of circumstances. But I expect maybe we'll see Riot Club in the top 10 this week, so I'll try and see it hopefully this week to be able to cover it then. We're going to take a break though. We'll be back afterwards with this week's home releases section.
From page to screen. So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Right, welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show. It's a bit of a lacking home release section of the show because we don't have a Blu-ray and DVD top 10. There's the fact that we are recording at 10 to 2 on a Sunday afternoon, and the Blu-ray and DVD top 10 doesn't get released until 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. Now you see the reason why we do the show on a Monday at 7:30. Well, around about 8 o'clock now. Or Sunday night, because the fact that we would have everything in place, we would have the beautiful jigsaw puzzle that we normally have. Well, I wouldn't say a beautiful jigsaw puzzle, but we would have a proper show, and this week it's very non-proper. Yeah. But we do have
from last week's releases. Which do you think will be top of the DVD and Blu-ray this week?
What did we review last week?
Well, it's either going to be Pompeii, Sabotage, or... In fact, I don't think it'll be Two-Face of January, because I don't think that will get the draw.
It'll not be Sabotage. I don't think Pompeii will be number one neither.
And I don't think Only Lovers Left Alive. And I definitely don't think Wolf Creek 2, from what I hear.
Yeah, I think Pompeii's got the best chance of getting in the top 3 than the rest of them.
Yeah. I think Sabotage might make it into top 5.
At a push, maybe. But that's just a guess. But we are reviewing some small releases this week because there is no big release thanks to a lot of TV DVDs out. So a lot of them would be my guess. Yeah, to be in the top 10 easily. So what we are looking at is these films.
We have In Secret, Tucker Rev, or was also known by Rage, a small film called Run, and I do mean small, by Run and Jump, The Ghost Maker, and we have The Trials of Kate McCall.
Yeah, and on top of that, we do have our TV Movies of the Week and Movie of the Week, which is going to be a nightmare for me. However, we might as well just kick things off with the first review.
In Secret, which is directed by Charlie Stratton. It is a drama which is set around sort of the 1800s in Paris. It starts off sort of in rural area. We have character of now I'm not sure how to remember. I think it's Therese. I can't pronounce it. It's one of these names that has the squiggles and stuff about it. So I can never remember how it's said. We're introduced to her as sort of a child, where she's brought by her father to her aunt's residence, where she's left and sort of grows up with her cousin. Years later, played by Elizabeth Olsen, the now grown up Therese, is sort of living there, being a woman of questionable parentage, not known who her mother is and such. It's decided by her aunt that she will marry her cousin, and the two of them will then be sort of they'll move to the city, where she as their mother or mother-in-law will move with them, and sort of they will live their lives and try and sort of find a successful career doing so. The thing is, when they're there, obviously she's been sort of forced into this marriage. She's not happy with this. She is kind of repressed sexually because of this, and she then finds sort of interest when another character played by Oscar Isaac is sort of brought into the fold, and she meets him for the very first time. Here's a clip.
Where have you been? Ta-da! I brought you a present. Imported from your long-lost past in Vernon. You don't remember him?
Do I?
It's Laurent. You must remember Laurent. His father owned the dairy beyond the church.
Oh my, yes! Oh my, little Laurent!
Yes!
Oh!
This is before you came to live with us.
Oh, so long ago. When I was a girl, a summer day was just...
Now, Mother, let's not get started on summer days or we'll die of hunger. Can you feed this great ox?
Well, yes, of course I can. Oh, little Laurent. You can stay, can't you?
I would love to stay, thank you.
He works for the company too, and we never even knew.
Oh, my.
So I thought, why not? I'd bring him along to Domino's night.
Oh, well, that's perfect. Thursday evenings here are always so exciting. Yes. I mean, the banter, especially Inspector Merchant.
Oh, and his son, Olivier. He's fantastic.
Come. You must meet everyone.
Yes, I will.
Therese, put the lights out here.
Good evening.
You'll have to excuse my wife, Florent. She's never seen a man before.
Oh, don't be so silly.
So, as you can imagine, then things kind of spark off, things necessarily get twisted in a certain other direction, and then it goes from there to another way, which I'm not going to give away because it will spoil it. But the thing with this is, it's kind of, it wants to be something more than it is, but then is holding itself back, restraining itself from being something kind of more graphic and more stronger than it is. And the thing I have with it is, the problem is, watching it, I was struggling a lot of the time to actually stay awake and watch it. And I don't mean that it's boring, I mean that it's horribly, horribly filmed. It is really, honestly, it's one of those things, if you're ever in a dark room, you ever go and see something really dark in the cinema, and you're sitting watching something, I generally a lot of time watch stuff without a light on, or watch something and it's, so I get the full effect of it. In the cinema you have that, and if it's a really dark film, you start to feel tired because you're in a dark room and your body's natural reaction is to that. This film is unbelievably dark on the screen, and I'm not joking. I mean, even in daylight scenes, I was kind of watching it and thinking, is there something wrong with this? Is it, it looks ridiculously dark, and I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if it's just maybe inexperienced lighting, or if it's a small film and it's sort of the budget limitations or stuff. But there's scenes in it where it just honestly was trying to put me to sleep, and I have no problem with the acting in it. The acting is absolutely fantastic. You've got Elizabeth Olsen, you've got Oscar Isaac, you have Jessica Lange's in there as well, and it's absolutely brilliant acting. But I honestly struggled with it because of the fact of just the way it looks. It's so dark and so badly lit, poorly lit, that I found it so distracting that I couldn't enjoy it. And that's a shame, because there are some moments in it that are genuinely quite dramatic sequences, and yet I was there sitting thinking, well, I'm sure there's something going on here. I can't see it, but I can hear it.
Okay, I have no comment because I've not seen it, so we'll just go on to the next film then instead. Tokarev, or Rage. Don't know why it's... Well, where I was watching the film, I was wondering why it was called Tokarev over here and not Rage, because there are a few films called The Rage. There's a horror film called The Rage, which is about a virus thing that gets injected into people and they turn into stupid zombies. But I don't know why it was called The Rage, or Tokarev over here. And during the film, you find out why it's called Tokarev, because it's about the gun. There's a gun in a film called the Tokarev, and that's the reason why it's called that. Stupid title. It stars Nicolas Cage, who plays the character of Paul Maguire. He's a reformed criminal. He now works for the mayor. So it's a very typical story. He goes out with his wife for a dinner one time. He leaves his daughter with a few friends behind. Something happens to the daughter. She gets killed. He decides to go and look for his daughter's killers with the help of his two friends. However, what he's doing, it seems to annoy the Russian mafia. Typical kind of stuff that you've seen and heard before. There is no clip for it because of the title changes and the problematic thing with it. The only clips that were for the film Tokarev was in German. And so, yeah, the film itself is Nicolas Cage trying to be Liam Neeson. And the thing there is trying to be Liam Neeson in things like Taken and monumentally failing, because the film itself is dull beyond belief. It is just once it gets past the scene where his daughter is being killed, it's him and two people who he used to work with kicking down doors and killing people. Not asking who killed my daughter, or did you see anybody kill my daughter, or anything like that. Just kicking down a door and shooting people. There is no questions asked. It's only until he angers the Russian mob that they piece together who supposedly killed his daughter. And when you discover finally at the end, in a supposed twist, it's just you've just lost all hope with the film, because the film is completely dull beyond belief. It overstretches its 90-minute running time. It should have been about 10 minutes, because that's all of an idea that's inside the film. It's terrible. Taken, and Taken 2 is a better film. And Taken 2 is garbage, but yeah, this is really, really bad. It's Nicolas Cage just at a lower level.
Is it? I just want to ask: is it Nicolas Cage doing the whole being crazy and stuff? Because the typical Nicolas Cage. Ah, yeah.
No, I would have much preferred him to do that. It's just Nicolas Cage and two people kicking down a door, just pulling out shotguns or stabbing people, and then that's it. It's just maybe it's a tiny little bit of story in between that of what you would call a story, and then just a few little violent scenes, just because the director in this case is Paco Cabezas, just thinking that, it's a good idea to have some violence in the film to make people who like this kind of movie just interested. When it doesn't, you need to actually have a structure to your movie. And the whole point of it is called a movie. It's not called let's make multiple trailers.
Okay, Run and Jump, which is a very
I think that's what he should have done. He should have ran and jump.
It's a very small independent film, co-written and directed by Stephen Green, also written by Abby Coogan, I think it is. It's a drama which it's a bit weird in the way it's shot, but basically it's shot. A lot of it is not found footage, but sort of handheld cameras and stuff like that are obviously cameras, because it has a character in it who travels from America to Ireland, who's a doctor who's curious about this family where a 38-year-old man has suffered a stroke, been in a coma for a month, and when he wakes up, he's a different person. He's not quite himself, and his wife has to sort of adjust things so that she can then run the family and control him and the two kids. The father was sort of, as a result of the stroke, is a bit childlike. He used to be sort of created furniture by hand and built things. He now no longer does that. He's obsessed with building these sort of round sphere wooden objects. And this doctor travels over to there so he can then sort of film them and document them, because of the fact that the father's no longer able to sustain the family and make money. They find themselves in a situation where they have to accept his help, because his grant will then help to keep them financially above water. And he sort of moves in with them, lives in the spare room, and essentially becomes sort of an extended part of the family. The weird thing about it is that it doesn't quite go anywhere, is the problem. It just sort of sits there and does it, and you kind of think, is it going to go this way? Is it going to go that way? Is it going to do this? Is this going to happen? And the problem I have with it is that it doesn't really do anything. It kind of stagnates itself. It should have really... I was expecting it to go one or two directions, for there to be some change. I mean, it's kind of a thing of that it doesn't really evolve anywhere in the story, and it's not a long film. It's only an hour and 40 minutes, so it's longer than, it's even longer than The Giver, but it's not 2 hours. And it's the problem is with it that it just feels like there's not much development for the characters, when it's supposed to be a thing which is viewing and seeing the characters when they're dealing with this difficult situation that should obviously affect them and change them in some way. And I think part of the problem is the way they've approached the story is having this guy come in to the story after the event that's happened, after the stroke. If they'd had something more before the stroke, we saw the family a lot more before that, I think it would have been a better film. But because we come into it kind of late in the game, it's kind of like it's missing something. It's missing half the story. We don't know. We don't see how that's really affected them so much, and so it just felt particularly shallow. That there was not enough there for it. It felt like it was missing a big chunk.
Okay, then next up is The Ghost Maker, which is directed by Mauro Borelli, and it centres around a group of friends. Why did they actually sit down? People who create movies, some directors, and just have a checklist, and at the top of the checklist is, we've got to have it a group of friends. A horror film. I think that's like the head of anything in a horror film these days, that it has to be centered around a group of friends. And one of them's a drug addict. He's just obsessed with drugs, and his girlfriend is disillusioned with him. He decides to help out this old woman by clearing a house out and getting rid of all the junk that's inside of a house, and he discovers this coffin, which she sees destroy straight away. Obviously, as soon as somebody says that, you think, ooh, this might be worth something. So he takes it off to his other few friends, and they discover that this coffin's got a mechanical mechanism inside of it, and they're wondering what it does. On inspecting the coffin even more, they find a key, which activates the coffin, and it plays a tune. So they instantly think it's a music box. So they go off to another one of their friends who's in the knowledge, who works inside of a library, who knows about very strange, weird artifacts. And he discovers that it was a 15th century artifact that wasn't a music box. In fact, it was a coffin that was able to give you an out-of-body experience. And so on learning this, they decide to mess around with this coffin. And they discover that they can have an out-of-body experience as long as the music's playing inside the coffin, and they'll be able to see around them, which they likened it to being like virtual reality. Yeah, it's not like virtual reality, because the difference between virtual reality is you being in a different reality to what you can see. This is just them seeing their bodies and going through the world and be able to actually spy on people. And so the more they do this, the more they start to anger Death, to be honest. And Death decides to to hunt them down, picking them off one by one. And one of them gets so obsessed with the box, he becomes crazy. It's rubbish. Honestly, that is the best way to see it.
G word.
Yeah, I know it. I didn't. It's really bad. It suffers from the fact that it's overly long. Even though it's 90 minutes, it went on and on and on and just wouldn't stop. There isn't anything about this film that's interesting. It takes so many different things from multiple movies. It takes ideas from Flatliners. It takes ideas from Final Destination. It takes ideas from movies like Ghost. So when you take multiple ideas and mix them together and throw it into a cesspool pot, this is what you get. It's a film that very few people are going to know about, and I'm sort of glad that's the case, because then you don't have to suffer through the mind-numbingly boringness that is this movie. It's pointless. I got a terrible week. And I think Kat is wondering what the name of this film is called. It's called The Ghost Maker.
Oh, that probably means she wants to see it then.
Unfortunately.
Right, the last film I've got is The Trials of Kate McCall. It is written and directed by Karen Moncrief. It stars Kate Beckinsale as the character Kate McCall, who, as we're introduced to her, we find out that she is a alcoholic. She's getting her life back together after having had problems with alcohol. She's lost her daughter and her I'm not sure if it's husband or boyfriend, but he's now left her and sort of has the daughter as a custody thing. She is now sort of back to sort of her gaining her sobriety again, but she's a lawyer who was sort of suspended, almost lost her license. She's now, having been sort of suspended and lost her job in a sort of high-priced lawyer attorney's company. I can't think of the name of it. She is then sort of struggling her way back from the bottom, where she gets given this case of a woman who has been imprisoned and is on sort of life imprisonment for murder, but who she suspects may actually be innocent, and has been given sort of a raw deal by everyone sort of fitting her up for it, with all the police and everything, and reports and stuff being doctored and things like that. You have this whole thing of while she's doing this, she's all ongoing problems with her trying to get back her daughter and see her daughter, and things going on and such. But the one thing about this is that it is basically mostly a courtroom drama thing, and I like courtroom dramas. I really do like them when they put well together. You have as well in this film, you have Nick Nolte, who sort of pops up every now and again as a sort of a supporter and advisor, sort of her sponsor, and it's the thing of the moments with him and her are brilliant. The moments with her when she's doing the court stuff are brilliant as well. The thing that I found really kind of antagonisingly annoying was the thing of she's this super lawyer, she's really good at what she does, so of course she has problems, and so she's an alcoholic, and she's got these things she's dealing with, trying to get her daughter back and everything, and I found that really, really cliche and old and tired, and those parts of the film, which isn't long, it's only an hour and a half, 90 minutes, and those moments I wish were not in the film. I would have gladly had them excised from it to make it a great courtroom drama, because the court scenes are really good, and Kate Beckinsale can do these scenes really well. She's good with the dialogue, she's good with being sort of having to face up against people who don't want to help her, who are hostile towards her, and it's good for that. It's decent performance, decent film. It feels more than above sort of TV level cinematically, and it's well handled. I just wish it didn't have these cliched things. It's like, she's got to have these problems, why not have her be just an alcoholic and drunk, and that would have been better. I think it would have worked more for the character, instead of having her be super person. It was just a bit too much for me on that side of it, but I did like the court sequences.
Right, that's it for the new films this week. Told you it was a bit of a shorter show this week. TV movie of the weeks.
Shall I do mine, or are you doing yours?
Yeah, you do yours first.
Okay. Well, I've got two that one that you told me of, because I didn't realise it was there. Thank you very much. But the first one is Man on Fire, which is on Monday the 22nd at 10:50. So if you're listening to us when we normally do the show, be sort of just after, when you've been listening to us, you'll be able to see Denzel Washington doing what he does best in a great film by the late Tony Scott, which kind of is similar by looks of it to what he does in The Equalizer, coming out next week. The other film is Margin Call, which is a fantastic drama, brilliant piece of work with Kevin Spacey. You have Zachary Quinto.
Just a huge cast.
It is a huge cast, fantastic cast. That's on Saturday 27th on BBC Two at 10:30, which means no adverts, and it's a great film. Honestly, a fantastic, one of the best films of last year.
And in HD as well, because you've got BBC Two HD, so that's free HD. If you've got Freesat HD or even Sky or Virgin, it's free. So
it's a film. It's about the financial stock collapse and everything like that. But you don't need to know that. It's not about that. It's about the people.
Yeah, it sounds boring, but trust us, it's not. It's brilliant. My movie choices are on Film Forum Friday the 26th at 10:50. 28 days later, do I need to say more? Danny Boyle's second best film, in my opinion. So I think Sunshine is his best film.
Sunshine, but I don't know.
Yeah, it causes controversy that when I say that Sunshine is his best film, but I do. I love Sunshine. I love 28 Days Later. I think they're very much... I would even actually put them on level par, to be honest. I think they're both evenly brilliant. And my other one is... Now, this clashes with Margin Call, and it's on Channel 4 on Saturday the 27th at 9:15, End of Watch. Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. And it's sort of like a shaky cam footage centered around two cops and their daily life. It's brilliant. Jake Gyllenhaal is an amazing actor. He's got a film coming out in a couple of months' time called Nightcrawler, which has garnered a lot of critical praise. And he's also, there's a film which I saw earlier on in the year, which I can't remember the name of, which has one of the strangest endings ever. But it's brilliant. And it's got Gyllenhaal in it, where he plays two people, exactly the same two people.
I can't remember if it's like Duplicate or something, isn't it?
It's something like that. It hasn't got
Imposter or something, isn't it? No.
Yeah, it hasn't got a distribution over here yet. Don't know when it's going to be out, but I've seen it and it's fantastic. But End of Watch, really good film. But then
Margin Call's better.
It's hard to choose though. Record one, watch the other.
Margin Call's better. Margin Call's better.
Record End of Watch, watch Margin Call, because then you don't have any ad breaks, and then watch End of Watch and fast forward through the ads.
I'd say actually watch End of Watch and record Margin Call, because once you see Margin Call, you'll want to watch it again.
But if you record End of Watch, you can fast forward through the ads then.
Yeah, End of Watch will get repeated on Film 4 anyway, because it's Channel 4.
Still though, record one and watch the other. Right, so that's it for this week's show. Movie of the week.
A Walk Among the Tombstones for me, although close second, I think. Well, I kind of want to say The Giver, but The Trials of Kate McCall.
Nothing. I didn't see anything this week that did.
The Giver's not a bad film. It's just it's not brilliantly done. It's okay.
I didn't see anything personally this week which I think is movie of the week quality. So nothing. Just go out and have a look at the cinema and maybe go to see the Box Trolls, even though I've not seen it, or go see Guardians of the Galaxy again or something like that. There's much better films out there.
Yeah,
so
but not Sex Tape or Let's Be Cops.
No, we want them at the top 10. Make sure you check out the website mondaymovieshow.co.uk, and you can also get on Facebook, facebook.com/mondaymovieshow, on Twitter @mondaymovieshow. I'm at Cryptic Tadpole, Andrew's at EHDVD. You can also email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Also check out a few of our friends' sites, followthenerd.com. You've got From Page 2, the number 2 screen, and the Seren Foundation, serenfoundation.org.uk. That's the first time we've mentioned all that stuff tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight?
Oh, sorry, I just dropped
something. And everything drops. We will be back.
I'm going to say actually, Kat has just said correctly in chat, The Double is the movie with Jake Gyllenhaal.
It might be.
It is. I remember now she said that.
We will be back.
There was another film called The Double with Topher Grace and Richard Gere, which didn't get released for ages either.
We will be back. I'll eventually get this out. We will be back sometime next week, whether it be Sunday or Monday, but it will not be Sunday afternoon. Trust me, it will not be Sunday afternoon.
Sorry, am I distracting you?
Yeah, because I'm actually trying to find the name of the film itself, because I don't think it is called that. It's Enemy. That's the name of the film.
Oh, yes. I'm thinking Double, then I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, the film... It's directed by Denis Villeneuve, and it is absolutely brilliant whenever it gets released over here, but Enemy. So, yeah, back to this show. We will be back sometime next week, Sunday or Monday, 8 o'clock, either one of those 2 days. Make sure you check out the website and for full details then. We'll play you out of the clip for Dracula Untold, which is out in a couple of weeks' time. And so until next week, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Why spill blood if not for the pleasure of it? Because men do not fear swords. They fear monsters. They run from them. By putting one village to the stake, I spared 10 more. Sometimes the world no longer needs a hero. Sometimes what it needs is a monster.
And you believe you know what it is to be a monster?
no idea. But I'm going to show you.